Okay. Ve'aya kiroto ki ein hanar v'met v'horidu avadecha et sevat abdecha avinu be'yagom she'olah. Genesis 44:31. And it will happen that in his seeing that the young man is not with us, he will die. And your servants will yank down the gray hair of your servant, our father, in desperate sorrow to Sheol. With the boy. This is the gospel. People wonder, can God die? When we think of the cheesy idea of the God-man dying, can God die? Is God a father? This speaks to how the Father felt about Yeshua going into Sheol. His heart was always with him, and his heart was yanked down into Sheol with him. And it was the fault of the brothers. And it was the fault of the brothers. They would have brought down the father's gray head, ancient of days, into Sheol. We need to read this as foundational for God's heart. Yeshua the Son is Adam and reveals how God feels for any instantiation of Adam to go to Sheol. Sorrow, intrinsically bound. His soul is bound up with the boy. This is the way that ancient Jews and present day Jews reason out what the soul is in the first place. When they read Genesis 2:7, we received the breath of life, his part of his soul, when he breathed into us. How is his soul not bound up with our soul? The point of the gospel is a pantomime prophecy brought to life to show us how desperately God loves the Son. To otherize the Son is to undo the incarnation, which is to undo the gospel. The Word became flesh, like Hebrews says, in every way made in our likeness. We were made according to the pattern and likeness of the Mimra, but then the Mimra was made according to our likeness to share in humanity with us in every way, because the point was to reveal that every step, every breath breathed, every heartbeat, every step taken universally spoke to all imagers. This interplay between Father and Son was not to rub our face in how shitty we are and totally depraved, but because the serpent still had us blinded to how God sees us. His heart went with Yeshua, and it still goes with him. And the verse speaks to how we are responsible for destroying our brothers. Cain and Abel times 10. 10 brothers coming together to kill one Abel is the story of Joseph. Daniel depicts And Daniel 7 depicts Yahweh as the Ancient of Days with gray hair. I don't know how to make sense out of it, but I will say I don't want to fall on the wrong side of the sword of God's humility. He told me years ago that every miscarriage has its breath. I think he'll keep speaking this message humbly and patiently. This is the gospel. We have to hold on to this. In a way, this verse goes further. This verse 32 says, let me make the exchange. Verse 32 is about the exchange. And Judah says, because your slave is guaranteed the boy. Arav et hana'ar. Arav. Braided, intermixed. He braided. It's like he braided himself. Because your servant has braided his own life with the young man. With my father. He's bound himself and intermixed and braided himself to the fate of the boy. We're just like, it's Judah, this is what Mashiach is doing in the tribe of Judah. He's bound his cause the most intimate way possible. He has bound himself up with their humanity, with their bloodline, with Adam's bloodline. And he promised the father, if I do not return him to you, then may this sin before you, may this sin be for you all the days, for all time. It doesn't say of my life, it says kol hayamim, for all the days. Take me in his place. My purpose in interbreeding my life with his is to win him back. So now the story twists. Every son of Adam is like Benjamin in this story. Every son of Adam is like Benjamin. And the father has sent the son, Judah, to make sure that his children get back. This is partly why what I think of when I think of Isaiah 49 and Mashiach saying, I failed. I spent my life in vanity. I was sent to restore Israel and I didn't. Verse 33. Now, Yeshivna Avdecha. And now, he will stay here. Please, I beg, your servant. He must stay here, please. He's speaking in the third person of himself. And now, this is the most direct he gets with Yosef. And now, your servant, he will stay here, your slave, speaking of himself. Tachat hana'ar, in place of the young man, in place of Benjamin. Tachat hana'ar, I'll take his place. This is the substitution that's described. The willingness to ensure the safe return of a son true for everyone you see at a grocery store when you publicly evangelize. Anyone you see on the road. People cussing you out. People cutting you off in traffic. People you don't feel anything for. Receive me in place of the boy, Adoni, my Lord and my Master, and the young man, Ya'al im Echa. The young man will go up with his brothers. He'll return back to the Father. This is what Mashiach did in the line of Judah. Mashiach plays multiple roles. Mashiach is like Yosef, and there is Mashiach ben Yosef, and Mashiach is like Judah, and this is Mashiach ben David. He is placing his life in the place of Benjamin, and you are Benjamin. You're the son that the Father loves. Because ki eich e'ele. Judah doesn't want to ascend. The word is ascend, not go back. How can I ascend to my father and the boy is not with me? How can I ascend to my father and the young man is not with me? I hate false presentations of the gospel. If we're going to be like Mashiach, we have to be this way about everyone. How can I ascend to my father? The boy is not with me. Lest I see. Lest I see. Lest I behold. I can't behold. I can't behold the evil, the harm. Ra is evil, is the word for tov v'ra, good and evil. The breaking is actually the word for Ra. It is harm done through breaking a thing. Lest I see the breaking which would find my father. I don't want to look at my father. And I don't want to look at the brokenness of my father if I ascend to him without his Benjamin, without his son, without the son of his right hand. Benjamin's name, Benjamin. Every one of us belongs at the right hand. Rachel, like Chava, wanted to name us Benoni, son of my sorrow, which is another type of attempt to own. But the father, Yaakov, said, no, his name is Benjamin, son of my right hand. And the truth is, God in this sense is like Yosef. People make him out to be this fucking monster, but he's not able. Velo yachol Yosef lehit a pig. Hit a pig. It's from a primitive root to contain. David figured this out and experienced this with Yah when Yah said, you got three choices through the prophet. And he says, I'd rather be in your hands. And Yah turned from his own actions because Lo Yachol Yosef, he's not able to contain himself. Lechol Hanitzavim, before all those standing and waiting on him, even the heavenly council. He can't control himself in front of even the heavenly council. And he cries out, yells, Hatzil, Chole Ish Me'alai, Away from me, all men. Get away from me. Away from me now. Velo amad ish ito. And no man stood with him when he made himself known and he revealed himself, and Yosef revealed himself to his brothers. And this is Israel. This is Judah, the disciple. Yes, Yeshua's earthly ministry, Judah is the one who sold him for 20 pieces of silver in the Torah, 30 pieces of silver in the gospel. But Judah still has a role to play. Paul speaks of the Jewish people. There's no word for Jew. It's Judah. Paul says if their rejection meant the life of the Gentiles, then what will their acceptance of the gospel be except a resurrection from the dead? We should hope for the resurrection of Judah, the man who's the shadow and the nation of the Jews, who represent and rep Israel because salvation is from them. We live in the days where the Gentiles are experiencing all the blessings of Mashiach, but the Jewish people aren't. They don't recognize their own brother. They are away from their father, wandering, not in his presence, trying to represent him. Yeshua is going to reveal himself to his brothers. The one who sold him isn't to be demonized, because the one who sold him, the Torah teaches us that's not the end. The one who sold him for pieces of silver doesn't end there. He becomes the one who intercedes himself in a way that is like Mashiach. God's not done with the Jewish people, man. He's not done with them. And that doesn't mean he'll just give them, dole out gifts on them in some weird dispensationalist sense. He's not done with them. He's going to work with them, and he's going to get them to love like he loved. He doesn't give up on people. Vayitin et kolo, and he gave his voice loudly. And he gave his voice, bivichi, and weeping. It was so loud, he gave his voice, and sobbing and weeping. Guys, God is not. God is has a heart like we have a heart. Rather, we have a heart like God has a heart. We are a scribbled stick figure drawing sketch of a heart in comparison to his. The little tiny shadow is so far in the wind in comparison with the reality. The little shadow of a broken heart, God's heart can break. He can't experience reality this way. Yes. To hear the one who dwells in heaven weep. The Egyptians heard. V'yishmo Mitzrayim, v'yishma bit Paro. The Egyptians heard. Pharaoh heard of this. It's just like he's bawling, he's weeping, and this message comes out to the nations, that even to the rulers of nations, that he's made himself known to his brothers. And Gentile and Jew, in a sense, start to come together after this. It's not maintained because of the serpent that's going to again rise up through Pharaoh in Exodus. ויאמר יוסף אל אחיו, אני יוסף, העוד אבי חי. I'm Joseph. Is his father still really alive? ולא יכלו אחיו לענות אותו. They weren't even able to answer him. They couldn't answer him. They couldn't speak. Ki nivhalu, because they were terrified. Nivhalu. They trembled, they palpitated. It's the nifal the revelation of his face put them in a place of trembling before his face once they recognized. It was overwhelming. Before, this was the man that was the ruler of the Gentiles and the representative of this God King Pharaoh who could kill them. They didn't recognize his face, and then they did recognize his face, like the gospel accounts speak of the resurrection, the resurrected and eventually ascended Mashiach. And Yosef said to his brothers, he commanded them, Geshu, come near me. Nah, please, come near me, please. To me. Geshuna Eli, come near to me. And they came near. And he said, Ani Yosef, I am Yosef. Achichem, I am Yosef, your brother. He's not ashamed to call them brothers. Which you sold. Mechartem oti, Mitzrayma, which you sold away to Egypt. He's telling the story of his identity as though he's back there at that pit. Ani Yosef achichem asher mechartem oti Mitzrayma. I'm the one you threw into the pit and sold. And now, don't be in deep pain or distress, which is what would have happened. This is the kind of pain God felt in his heart. This is the kind of pain that Eve would feel in her heart. This is the kind of pain that the brothers felt when they found out Dinah was raped. He says, don't feel this kind of pain of the injustice you have caused. And do not be angry be'enechem, in your eyes. Do not be angry, do not burn, do not glow. Be'enechem, in your eyes. Okay? Why? He doesn't mean be angry at Yosef. When we are faced with our own sins, we respond in all kinds of ways. We fall apart, or we are enraged at our actions, because he says, Al yicha be'enechem ki mechartem oti. Don't be angry in your eyes that you sold me. Hena, behold, because that you sold me here, you sold me in the place that you see. Ki. Lemichia, because it was for the life, for the living, for those in living, that I was sent. Shalachini, Elohim lifneichem. God sent me before you. God sent me before you. Because these 2 years, Kizeh Shnatayim Hara'av, of this famine, B'kerev Haaretz, this famine in the midst of the land, because of these 2 years that the famine is in the midst of the land, Ve'od Chamesh Shanayim, 5 more years still is coming, Asher Ein Charish Ve'katzir, there's still no plowing and no harvesting, it's only just begun, this is going to get worse and worse, as bad as this is. Ve'yishlcheni Elohim lifnechem, and God sent me before you, Lashum, to preserve or to place, lechem, to place to you, she'arit, a remnant, ba'aretz, to have this thing prepared, this set aside, in the land. Ula olei hachayod, in order to cause you to live, to save your life, in order to cause you to live. Le fleta, to snatch you out greatly, a big saving, a big snatching out of harm. Veta, now, not you guys who sent me here. He says, it's not you who sent me here. Ha Elohim, the God. Vaisimeni, and he has made me. Le'av le Pharaoh, he has made me father to Pharaoh. He has made me father to Pharaoh. Uleadon lechol beto, and master and lord to all his house. This is Mashiach. Umoshel, the ruler. This word Moshel is governor, like sun and moon. Umoshel bechol eretz. The peculiar thing of that vision is the sun and moon will not bow down to stars. They're lower. Or will they? That parable, that dream that Yosef had, would speak to the confusion of Israel, that a son of their people would be bowed down to by their rabbis and their ancients and their great ones. It's a conundrum of Mashiach. Like, who is the father of Mashiach? It touches that mystery. So, and he rules over all the land of Mitzrayim, all the land of the Gentiles. Maharu, quickly, be quick, ve'alu, be quickly and ascend to my father, and tell to him, thus, your son Yosef has said, God has made me to be master of all of Mitzrayim, of Egypt. Come down to me. Do not stand around, do not delay. You shall settle in the land of Goshen, and it shall be near me. You shall be near me, your children, your children's children, your flocks, your herds, and all which is to you. I went further than the reading. I love you guys. This was really long. I hope you can listen to the audio for evangelizing. I love you.